Hello everyone, it's Matt here from Scoop in Response, and today we are looking at a deck tech for Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines. If you've come here from the short, welcome to the channel. This is going to be a deck list that it's pretty brutal, both to the wallet and to your pod that you're playing it in. So we're going to be doing a lot of things like stacks, we're going to be doing a lot of things like unfair ramp, all of that kind of stuff. It's a pretty gross deck overall. I think the commander is just absolutely insane. I love that it's limited to mono white. I think that if you added a second color to this card, it would just be one of the most boring kind of decks that you could possibly build. But the fact that it's in mono white with all of those amazing hate bears, I think it's just absolutely sweet to sort of play that kind of deck. And we all know what Sheldon thinks of the card, but we're gonna build it and play it and have lots of fun with it anyway. I think this list is going to appeal to you if you're interested in, I guess, like non-deterministic combos. You don't want any of them in your deck. You don't want any kind of deterministic combos. You don't want sort of like I win buttons. You want to basically have an insurmountable advantage that you're going to continue accruing, and eventually you will just defeat your opponents with fair magic. So that's basically the idea of the deck. Let's jump in and have a look. We'll start with creatures first. So obviously our commander, for us, it's an even better Panharmonicon, and it's one-sided, and the other side of it is that it is a torpor orb for your opponents on all permanents. So not just creatures, all permanents. So they don't get landfall triggers, they don't get anything basically from ETBs. It's on a 4/7 body with vigilance, which is huge, absolutely enormous, and it's a 4 and a white to cast for Elesh Norn. So yeah, really good body, really good stats overall. So very exciting. So the first I think we are looking at, we've obviously got our Walking Ballista as our number one. WinCon, that's probably the only combo piece in the deck, I think. So, you know, it's really up to you if you want to include Walking Ballista and Heliod. It's really just in there as more of a habit at this point. I probably won't stick it in the version that I play, and instead I would just swap them out for two more Eidolons or something like that. You know, basically just more hate pieces. But for those of you who do want it in there, obviously we're in the colors for it. So we've got Esper Sentinel, we've got Serra Ascendant. You know, these are our only two 1-drops. We're not doing a lot of, you know, attacking with 1-drops. We want to be, you know, doing some, I guess, actual good stuff with those 2s and 3s and 4-drops. So, yeah, Esper Sentinel is just great because it works really well with additional, you know, +1 counters. It works well with equipment, all of that kind of stuff. And Serra Ascendant, it's not really a 1-drop. It's a 1-drop, but it's, you know, it's way better than a 1-drop in any commander game. Deep Gnome Terramancer, we're going to ramp way better. I'm going to double up all of those effects. Drowneth Magistrate, we're going to stop our opponents casting their commander. One of the most hated cards in all of Commander. I think it's hilarious. I think this card's great. I really enjoy playing this card, and I don't mind playing with this this card on the field if it's not even mine. I think it's a really good card, and it sort of rewards you for not building in an all-in direction with your commander. Aethersworn Canonist, each player who hasn't cast a non-artifact spell can't cast an additional non-artifact spell. So we've got a lot of artifacts, a lot of artifact creatures, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we're going to be casting Rule of Law effects and everything like that. So it's just another one of those on a body. Grand Abolisher, bit of protection for us. Another White Orchid, more ramp, so really useful in that it yeah, gives us double the triggers if our opponents controls more lands. So the cool thing as well is the check. I believe the check occurs, and if an opponent has one extra land, then you both of those triggers will resolve, but it'll be good to get a rules check on that one. I'll leave it in the comments if that's wrong. Probably should have checked that before before I started recording. Lion Sash is just a great equipment card, but also just a good card in general. It's a mono white, you know, scavenging ooze, so really cool. Spirit of the Labyrinth, you know, great card. Rule of Law effect on a dude, and it's a 3/1, so it's a really good attacker. I love it. Stoneforge Mystic, we're going to find all of our swords, everything like that. Very cool. Suture Priest. So whenever another creature ETBs, you gain a life. With Norn out, it's 2. And whenever an opponent plays a creature, we can choose to have them lose 1 life, which is 2. So this card is like sick in our deck. Really, really good card. We've got Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. You know, just another good hate bear. Wall of Omens, draw 2 cards for 2 mana, seems really good. We're playing blue now. Archon of Emeria, each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn, and non-basic lands your opponent controls enter the battlefield tapped. Haven Mind Center, you can't search. Eidolon of Rhetoric, another rule of law. Yeah, sorry, I think I might have said Spirit of Labyrinth is a rule of law. It's you can't draw more than 1 card. Heliod we discussed. Lauren of the Third Path, so this is a new card that's come out with Brothers War. Vigilance, it's a basically you get to choose up to 1 target artifact or enchantment to destroy. Lauren of the Third Path, it's basically choosing 1 artifact or enchantment to destroy. So it's a Reclamation Sage, except in mono white, and you can also tap it to have you and target opponent each draw a card. So really cool with Spirit of the Labyrinth and the like. If they are on their turn, you can target your opponent and they will have already drawn their card. You haven't drawn a card that turn, so you can just draw a card. So cool little interaction with that. Ranger Captain of Eos, just to go and get our Walking Ballista and our Esper Sentinel. If you're not playing the Heliod Ballista combo, I'd say this card goes way down in value. However, it is nice to be able to sacrifice to have your opponents not cast spells. If you're going to swap it for something, I could say you could probably put like an Adeline in or something like that instead, if you wanted to keep it at the 3 cost and same cast ability. Next up, we've got Recruiter of the card. It's just tutoring for dudes, but you know, with Norn out, you get 2. So really good. Sanctum Prelate, you choose a number. It's an as it enters the battlefield, so it's not going to get 2 numbers. That'll just be too broken. But yeah, still a great hate bear, good card. And Skyclave, yeah, you get two triggers from this. Thalia, just another great card. Felidar, you know, more value. You know, untap 2 lands, get a 2 land discount on the Felidar at the absolute worst. Linvala, Keeper of Silence, great hate bear, 3/4, dodges Bolt, dodges, what is it, Abrupt Decay, doesn't quite dodge Fatal Push, but yeah, most things. Restoration Angel, another cool card. Yeah, you just flicker and you get 2 flickers, so, you know, if you have Felidar Guardian and Restoration Angel out, you can basically have 1 of each of those target the other, and the other thing to generate your infinite value, so you just get infinite ETBs. And yeah, with Suture Priest, it's infinite life. With you know, all of your other like destroy effects or draw effect cards, everything like that, you just basically get to do that as many times as you like, nuke the board, do whatever. Sarah Paragon, this card's just absolutely gas. I love this card. Yeah, I'm really sort of enjoying the 4-drop angels in this deck. It's definitely cool. This is just play a 3-drop out of your graveyard once a turn each turn. Solemn Simulacrum, ETB, search for 2 lands instead of 1. When it dies, you can draw a card. Really, really good card. Great when it's you know, 4 mana ramp 2. It's basically better than a Cultivate at that point. Solitude, good card, not really needing an explanation there. Sun Titan, this card's excellent. You know, it's really good in this deck because we're going to be doing lots of those like medium and fair things. They remove your Archon or your Mind Sensor. You just get it back every turn. And lastly, we have Elesh Norn, the OG. So your stuff gets bigger, their stuff gets smaller. So that's yeah, pretty well our creatures. Quite a lot. 32. So it's, you know, really heavy on the dudes, really heavy on attackers, and really heavy on the fair stuff. So, you know, with the exception of that Heliod and Ballista, you know, it's all mostly fair stuff. Onto the non-land, non-creature permanents. So we've got a single sorcery in Lay Down Arms. It's a cool card, new removal spell. Exile target creature with mana value less than or equal to the number of planes you control, and its controller gains 3 life. So yeah, you know, semi-unconditional. As the game goes longer, your opponents are more likely to have big dudes and you're more likely to be able to remove them. Enlightened Tutor, Ephemerate, March of Otherworldly Light, these are pretty sort of standard, instant speed mono white stuff. Go and find an artifact or enchantment to do some cool stuff with, all of that. Ephemerate, yeah, really great card for value. March of Otherworldly Light, just really good removal. Same with Path, Swords, both the same. Silence is just another great spell. It's just a case of sometimes it's just useful to have, if your opponent telegraphs a win or something like that and they cast part 1 of a 2-card combo, you just hit the Silence in response and basically you've got a turn to deal with part 1, and it's or it might even brick depending on what sort of combo it is. Calamity's Wake, this is a new one. I really like this because it's another, I guess, silence effect, but also that graveyard exile as well, so super sweet interaction there. And then we've got Warping Whale, which is really just in case they have like some kind of like pro-white situation, or where it's a case of not being able to sort of deal with it with a 1-drop. I like this card. I think it's kind of like interesting, and then also being able to counter target sorcery spell is pretty cool too. I think that's like funny to be a mono white deck and your opponent like expropriates or something and you're like, see you later. Yeah, really cool card. Cool tech in general. Also, you could probably put in Eldrazi Displacer if you wanted to as well. I think that'd be perfectly fine in this deck. Generous Gift, another removal spell. Destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green elephant creature token. For enchantments, we have Deafening Silence, the actual Rule of Law, so really good cards in those, slowing your opponents down. We've got Land Tax, just search for a whole bunch of lands, really good because we've got such a high plains count, as we'll see. Blind Obedience, artifacts and creatures your opponents control, ETB tapped. Rest in Peace, some more graveyard removal. Restoration of a Ganjo, it doesn't get ETBs because, basically as it enters and as you go to your draw step, so you can't sort of shortcut past it or anything like that, but it's just a really good value card. Great card to get back with your Sun Titan or something like that if you wanted. Touch the Spirit Realm. This is a really good removal spell, but because it channels, it can get through like can't be countered sort of stuff, or if your opponent has a Teferi or something like that, it's really cool for that. And the last one we have is Felidar Retreat, which is a landfall trigger. You make cats, but you get to do it twice, or put 2 counters on each creature you control, and they gain vigilance. That seems pretty good. Play a land, play a fetch land. Oh, everything gets +4/+4 counters. That's wild. That's really good. Yeah. So the last stuff we've got that's non-artifact, non-creature, non-land. We have the Khan, the Great Creator. There he went. He's just really cool for, I guess, all of those situations where your opponent's ramping out with artifacts and you just want to say no. I like it. It's not really anything more deliberate than that. Artifacts wise is the last thing we've got. So we've got all of the expensive stuff here. This is where it's like quite expensive. Chrome Mox, Jeweled Lotus, Lotus Petal, Mana Crypt, Mox Diamond, Mox Opal. You can definitely cut all of them. Every single one of them. You'll need a few more lands, but you'll have a lot more dollars in the bank account if you cut all of those. But yeah, it's just fast mana, fast acceleration. I think it enables these mid-range commanders in a lot of the ways. Super useful to sort of be able to cast earlier than like turn 4, for example. Aether Vial, Mana Vault, both of these are just really solid 1-drops. Aether Vial's another sort of way to cheat out your dudes, is quicker. Mana Vault is sort of like a 1-shot with your mana. And then we've got a few bits and pieces as far as equipment goes. We've got Shadow Spear and Cauldron Complete. Now with the Lion Sash, that makes only 3 pieces of equipment. You can 100% add something like a Skull Clamp. You could add a Sword of Fire and Ice. All of those cards are going to be sick. Sword of Hearth and Home and the Animist, Sword of the Animist, both really good. In terms of equipment, definitely would say that they're worth looking at. We're just basically giving you the rundown on a way to build this. I would say like up to like 5 pieces of equipment for a deck with 34 dudes is perfectly reasonable. Arcane Signet, Sol Ring, you know, just more acceleration. And then we've got deceleration with Thorn of Amethyst, Trinisphere. You know, these are just back-breaking cards. If your opponent's trying to do something quickly, you just say no. We're going to play a Trinisphere. No, you're not allowed to do that. It costs 3, not 0, not 1, not 2. Really sweet card. And then we've got this one, which has some really interesting synergy with the commander. So it ETBs, and you search for up to 2 basic playing cards twice. And then when a land will ETB under opponent's control, yeah, it works as well. So just really sweet, really cool card, just super useful to unfairly ramp you. Rounding it out, we've got Panharmonicon, which is just another situation with your, with Elesh Norn, so really cool for that. And Cauldron Complete is, that last piece of equipment that we mentioned with the Stoneforge Mystic. So yeah, really cool, I guess, package of non-creatures. It's going to be like really brutal, some of the runouts that you're going to have, where you can sort of just cheat out a few hate bears and you're just going to be slapping everyone to death before they can do anything. You know, it's just going to be, you're going to be probably public enemy, you're going to be arch enemy number 1 straight away. But as people sort of progress through the game, you know, your ability to demonstrate scary things straight up is either going to be dealt with, or you're just going to run away with the game. So, you know, it's probably going to be an interesting kind of, I guess, deck, because you want to sort of hang on to your card draw effects and things like that if you've already got a board state, because you kind of want to, you know, keep them in reserve to reload. And that's really the choice that you're going to have to make with a deck like this. It's how am I going to play around board wipes? How am I going to play around, you know, removal and everything like that? Because we do generate a lot of value, but it's still going to be tricky to sort of make things happen and get those wins versus, like, even if our opponent has, you know, more convoluted combos or something like that, it will be, quite tricky. So we've got to get in there, get in fast, assess the right person to kill first, and just, you know, go for broke on them. After that, we've got our lands. Now, our lands are interesting as well. It's sort of a bit unassuming to, you know, at first glance. We've got 14 lands, 14 plains, but, you know, there are some expensive lands here. You know, we've got Ancient Tomb, City of Traders. These are just really good because of the amount of, like, 2 colorless pips we have in our creatures. We've just got so many of them. It's, you know, they're just too hard to not. And with things like Restoration of Aganjo, Sarah, Paragon, all of that, we can recycle our lands, and, you know, makes it much less of an issue. We've got Cavern of Souls. You know, we've got a lot of humans in the deck, so that's probably what we're naming most of the time. And then we've got, you know, some utility pieces, Inventor's Fair, Roadside Reliquary, Aganjo, Seat of the Empire, as a Saga. All of those are, you know, quite... you know, utility based. War Room, you know, pay 1 life and pay 3 mana to draw a card. That's pretty good. We've got all of our fetch lands, and of course Nykthos to sort of give us a bit of ramp when we have sort of late game devotion. So yeah, really I guess useful stuff there. I guess rounding it out, we've got Blast-Zone, Buried Ruin. Blast-Zone is, I think it's a completely underrated card. I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet at the moment with the card Reliquary Tower. I've thought the card is just super bad for ages, and it does my head in when I see people playing it unreasonably. The main reason that I hate that card so much is because of the fact that never have I had an instance of a game of Commander where I've had 7 cards in my hand and I've drawn an 8th card, and discarding the 8th card has resulted in me losing the game. You're just never in a situation where you need 7 cards in your hand and you just couldn't go without one, and that's the problem that I guess I have with a card like Reliquary Tower. And then I look at this card, Blast-Zone, and I see this is like, it's a mana sink. It can set up and prepare and threaten your opponents in such a big way. Like, if you play this on like turn 2 or turn 3, you know, it ETBs with 1 counter on it, you can just choose not to do anything, and you just wait. And if your opponent has a 2-drop or even like 2 2-drops, like they have like a Signet and a you know, a Signet, another Rock, and like a 2-drop, and you know, they see you pass with 3 mana up and this untapped. You're like, oh, okay, if I play another 2-drop, I'm going to get blown out, and you'll get such good value out of this. And, you know, with, as I mentioned, with, you know, Restoration of a Ganjo, and with Sarah Paragon, you know, you're going to get extra value out of this. And, yeah, card's really good, and it just is criminally underplayed. And it's been reprinted, and it's like 30 cents now or something ridiculous. It's so good, and please play this card more. bit of a tangent on that. Yeah. Buried Ruin, great card overall. It's just like, you know, return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand for 2 mana. This is just like really sweet. Sometimes, you know, they're going to just deal with your stuff. Like maybe your Cauldron gets countered. You're like, oh, cool, well, it doesn't really do anything this game. So you just buy it back and try again, and it gets through the second time. Or, you know, you deal with a board wipe that destroys all artifacts, and you're just going to have to, you know, put it back into your hand, and it'll set you back a turn instead of 3 turns. And yeah, I think it's just a great card too. Very cheap, and yeah, super useful. But yeah, so that's pretty well the deck. I really like this kind of commander, mostly because of how it plays is quite interesting, and there's so many variations. Like, you could imagine this commander also as just like a Voltron commander if you wanted to. You could have a whole bunch of swords and a whole bunch of like you know, abilities like Open the Armory and Sagada's Aid and all that, and you just play in like a whole bunch of stuff to like get stuff onto your dude, and you're fighting, and because you're slowing down your opponent naturally, you know, you can win. Or you could play it as a full-blown combo deck, you know, with like some kind of weird and wonderful ETBs and adding counters and removing counters and doing stuff like that. There's so many ways that you can build this commander, and I think that it's the hype that it had, and particularly with like, you know, the rules committee and all of that complaining about it, I don't think it's founded, because realistically, if you're playing this in the power levels where it could be oppressive as a commander, it's like, oh well, like, you know, you're gonna have to deal with it. But for the most part, it's like it's fine. That's my message. It's fine. Nothing is wrong. Go about your day, citizens. That's pretty much it for the deck. I really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the sub button, eat your vegetables, do all that wonderful stuff. And if you like what you're seeing with everything the new Phyrexian set, yeah, make sure you come and check it out, because we will be uploading quite regularly. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.